Hey adventurers, so today is going to be another book tag. This is going to be the Indie Reader tag, but I was tagged by Kay's Hidden Shelf, and this is about indie fantasy books and self-published fantasy books, because there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of difference between them, even though there is to some degree. Yeah, so we're just going to talk about these books. So, prompt 1. What got me into reading indie fantasy? So this was... there is a little bit of a story with this. It started when I was told by a book club that I was part of that we were supposed to read Dawn of Wonder for that book club meeting. Dawn of Wonder is a self-published fantasy book by Jonathan Renshaw. It's the first book in the Awakening series. I've talked a lot about this book. If you want to know more of my thoughts, I would recommend go looking for those. But I really liked this book. I just read it as a one-off book thinking, okay, I will read the rest of the series when it comes out, but I'm not really worried about it being self-published or not self-published or anything like that. And I was just excited to read the book. And I kind of expected it to end there. It didn't really, because once I started... Well, at the time I was part of BookTube already. I'd already started the channel, but I hadn't really gotten into the community a whole ton yet. Eventually, I found Andrew's Book Reviews, or Andrew's Wizardly Reads is the channel. Eventually, I found Andrew's Wizardly Reads channel and a lot of the other BookTube channels in that sphere that do a lot of self-published and indie fantasy content. And I'd just start seeing books that I was interested in or that made me want to read them or whatever, or I'd hear the authors talk about them, all that kind of things. And eventually I had a couple authors reach out to me and ask if I wanted to read and review their books. And so I was like, yeah, this is really cool. I get free books from people. This is awesome. Some of which I still haven't gotten to just because I'm a very, very slow physical reader. Do read audiobooks a lot faster. But then I was on at the time it was the Wizardly Duo Discord. It's now the Wizardly Enclave Discord, and I saw Anonymous talking about his book Gurzel, and so I reached out to him and ended up getting a review copy of Gurzel. I got a review copy of Gurzel. The review copy is right here, and I read Gurzel and really liked it. Part of why I was interested in it is because it is not only is it self-published, which doesn't specifically tell me if I'm interested in a book or not, but it was Arthurian, and it was historical fiction, and it was fantasy, or historical fantasy specifically, but it had some Arthurian influences, definitely very big Arthurian influences, including one of the main characters being George Bertilac, and that is essentially the Green Knight from Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So automatically I was very intrigued by the story, ended up really liking the story, and so that was part of it. I read those books, the first two books in that series, as I could get them, and really enjoyed both of them. So yeah, it's been kind of a mixture of obviously starting out with Dawn of Wonder, but then becoming a greater part of the BookTube community and talking to authors more, and whether they reach out to me or I reach out to them, or I find out about their books because I'm interested in them based on reviews that people like Andrew's Wizardly Reads do, all that kind of thing. That's kind of the answer to, a long-winded answer to what got me into reading indie fantasy. Prompt 2, or question 2. What is my favorite thing about indie fantasy? And this is, what I wrote down is the unfettered storytelling. Authors telling the stories they want to tell. And that's really the crux of it right there, is I'm always pushing for the author to tell the story that the author wants to tell. If the author has a story to tell, that's an important story that needs to be told, and they should tell that story. There's some things about editing and about reworking and figuring out the best way to tell that story that are important and that are great to know about and to be studying, but I am always wanting the author to tell the story that they want to tell. And what I find so much of the time with indie fantasy is that's exactly what is happening, is these stories that really probably should not be published based on what publishing companies are looking for and what they think the readers and the audience is looking for, they shouldn't probably be published. But because this is not about what people think people want to read, it is about what the author wants to write, that's important to me, and I'm excited to continue seeing the authors tell the stories that they want to tell. Question 3. What is my favorite indie fantasy book or series? So at the moment, my favorite indie fantasy book is still Dawn of Wonder. I think it's just a fantastic novel, but that is not, because it's only book 1 in the series, and I haven't really read much more. I haven't really read more of that series because there's no more to read at the moment until the author can get it published. We've got Deathless Beast and the Collation Saga. This is my favorite fantasy series at the moment, or indie fantasy series at the moment. It's not Lord of the Rings. And I don't think Andrew D. Meredith would be mad at me for saying that even. But I really do like the Collation Saga. Book 1, Deathless Beast, and Book 2 is Bone Shroud, and then Book 3, which isn't out yet. I believe it comes out September 28th. So maybe it'll be out by the time you're watching this. I'm not sure when this video is going up, but Book 3 is titled Gloves of Eons, and then there is a prequel novella titled Fleeting Word is the Collation prequel novella that is out now, and everything that I've read about this series, so far, I just really enjoyed, and I really enjoy talking to Andrew D. Meredith, and just the way that he is telling this story and the themes that he is putting into them. Question 4. What is one high priority indie fantasy on my TBR? I've got several because any time an author sends me their book, it is high priority for me to read it. I don't immediately read it. I don't even pretend that I'm going to. I tell the author, yeah, if you're, what do I tell them? It's something along the lines of, I can't promise that I'll get to it anytime soon. And if they're not okay with that, then they don't have to send me their book. But if they do send me their book, I will read their book eventually when I can get to it. But the one there's actually two. The Tome of Heron by Damian Francis is one that I really do need to get to, but I do really want to read it, and I think I'll really enjoy it. But it's for some reason at the moment it's not screaming my name in the same way that this other series is, and that is Nicholas Raven and the Wizard's Web by Thomas J. Prostopnik. This is an epic fantasy in 3 volumes, so I have volumes 1 through 3. I want to at least try and get through volume 1 this year, if at all possible. I don't know that it will be possible, but I do want to try. We will see if that can happen. Yeah. So that's one. This is a series that I am, or the indie fantasy specifically, that I am considering my high priority series. High priority indie fantasy. I guess it only asked for one, so I don't really need to mention everything that I did, but oh well. Let's try and keep going through these a little bit faster because it's already 9 minutes in, it looks like. And I want to go faster than that. Question 5, where do I find out about indie fantasy books? BookTube and Discords and authors reaching out primarily. I don't use Twitter, or X as it is now. Don't really use Instagram that much. I post on it a little bit. I go through and like some pictures and some videos and whatnot, but I don't really actively use Instagram a ton. So primarily it's authors reaching out to me either by Discord or by email, which is the ways that I would prefer them to reach out to me, or else talking to people into the various Discord channels and watching BookTube videos. That's primarily how I find out about my indie fantasy books. Question 6, what is a book I'd recommend to someone just starting to read indie fantasy? There's a couple of these that I have, a couple answers that I decided to go with. The first two I don't own physically yet. I will eventually. They will be coming. The first series is Threadlight by Zach Argyle. Voice of War is the first book in the series. It's the only book in the series that I've read so far, but I really liked it. It's very similar in many ways to Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. So it feels very Sanderson-like in many ways, and that's great for people who are just getting into indie fantasy. It's also very high quality writing, very polished in a lot of ways, and I know he's doing another round of polishing as he prepares to release the omnibus that he is doing for his, he did a big Threadlight Kickstarter with a beautiful omnibus edition with lots of very pretty looking things, and so he's doing another round of edits on it before that goes out, and so polishing it even more. The next series is book and series is Becoming a Druid, which is the first book in the Protectors of Pratani series. This is by Mike Mullman. It's about a druid. It's a very fast-paced, light, easy read with some I don't want to say it's light as in not realistic, but it's not dark fantasy, and it's not grimdark fantasy, and so it's just very nice. It's about a druid, and it's about a guy becoming a druid. That's a great title, actually. It really describes what the book is about in a lot of ways. It's about a quest for a young druid apprentice to become a full-fledged druid, and it's just lots of fun. I really enjoyed that one. But the one that I do own physically is The Legend of Blackjack by A.R. Witham. This is one that's, again, very fast-paced. It's a little bit more on the YA side of things in terms of target audience, or in terms of writing style. I guess, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say there, but it's a little bit more YA than it is adult, but it's very good, very fast-paced, a lot of amazing world building. It's a portal fantasy, so you leave Earth and you go into Keymark, and lots of really cool things. Just another one that I think is a fantastic indie fantasy book, or self-published fantasy book, and I'm looking forward to reading what else A.R. Witham does. I know he's got a prequel novella, which is A Tale of the Border Knights, and I haven't read it yet, but I really, really want to, because the Border Knights are super cool in this book, or that order of knights is very cool, and I want to read more about them. Question 7. What is my favorite indie fantasy cover? So I have a whole lot of indie fantasy covers that I really like, and I actually think that the indie fantasy cover game is very, very good, and there's a lot of very pretty covers that are self-published or indie fantasies. Some of the answers that I wrote down actually are really anything with like a magic tree on the front. So the ones that I specifically come to mind off the top of my head are A Touch of Light by Thiago Abdallah or Curse of the Fallen by H.C. Newell. Actually H.C. Newell's got 3 books in the series now, and all 3 of them have magical trees on the front of them and very pretty. A Touch of Light, which is the first book in the Ashes of Averin series. The other books in this, or the second book, which is out in the series, also has a beautiful cover. It's got a giant griffin just staring at you, and very pretty cover. So those are some great answers. Gloves of Eons, which is the 3rd book in the Collation Saga by Andrew D. Meredith, just had its cover revealed, and I think that's a very pretty cover as well as really all the rest of his books. The other Collation books look good, but also his Needle and Leaf series, the re-release covers look fantastic, very cozy in many ways, and just like they draw you into the story. And I haven't read those books yet, but I really want to, partly because they have great covers. Question 8. Do I approach indie reading and reviewing differently? And the answer is no, not really. If anything, I try even harder to give tongue-tied, I can't talk today. Words are hard. If anything, I try even harder to give constructive feedback. Most of the other authors that I read are either too big or are dead, and so they don't care about what my opinion about their writing is, and so I don't really try and give constructive feedback in the same way as I would with an indie reader, or as an indie writer who might actually see my videos and might actually see my reviews. And I don't want to bash the book because I hate it or gush on the book because I love it. I want to give some actual thoughts, good thoughts, and creative, constructive feedback about those books. So that's the only thing that I might do a little bit differently, but really realistically, there's not a whole lot of difference in my approach to writing the reviews, because I'm just writing a review about a book. If the author sees it, that's awesome. If not, that doesn't bother me that much. So yeah, I don't really approach it too differently. Question 9. What is an upcoming indie release I'm looking forward to? So here's the problem with me and upcoming releases. I don't know. I don't follow upcoming releases very closely at all. I do know that at the time of filming this, which is, today is September 9th, so at the time of filming this, there is Gloves of Eons is an upcoming release, and I'm excited for that one. The other 2 that I can specifically think of, though, are More Than a God War, which is the 3rd book written by J.R. Carroll in his More Than Human universe. It is the 2nd book. It's the direct sequel to More Than a Vampire, and so I am excited to read that one when it eventually comes out. Also, The Nomad's Crucible by Charles McGarry. This is Bookish Chaz's 2nd book. His 1st book is Talendor's Guest, which I really enjoyed, and I'm excited for the release of The Nomad's Crucible as well. Indie author would I choose to write my story? Well, I don't really have much of a story, so I just went with 3 of the authors that I really like and that I like talking to and that I like their writing style, and this is not the only 3, this is 3 of them, and the choices that I went with are Andrew D. Meredith, Derek Bailey, or Mike Mullman. All authors that I've communicated with and talked to quite a bit, and I really enjoy their writing. And then question 11, what is an indie fantasy more people need to read? If I'm supposed to just pick one, I'm not going to. I'm going to cheat. Well, I could say Dawn of Wonder, because that one, yeah, everybody should read that one because I really like it and I want more people to talk about it. And maybe if there's more people talking about it and more interest in it, we'll eventually get book 2 sooner rather than later, hopefully. That's the goal, right? But really, all of the books that I mentioned in this video, or that I have in, I did a video about my top 10 top 10 self-published fantasy books. I just recently did that video, released that video, so I'll link to that one. Any of the books in that series or in that video as well, really any of them, any that I've talked about on this channel, for whatever reason, I would recommend you read. Even Daniel B. Green's books, Rebel's Creed or Breach of Peace and Rebel's Creed, which aren't my favorite fantasy books. Read them. Go read them. See for yourself if you like them. I want people to read the books, and I want to support the indie authors if I can. So that is my recommendation, is any of the ones that I talked about here, or in that top 10 self-pub video, or that I've talked about on the channel anywhere. So thank you guys for watching an Erudite adventure. I'm not going to tag anybody in this video. I could, probably, but I don't know who's been tagged, and I don't know who really does tags anymore. So the 2 people that I would tag, being Tori from Tori Talks and Kayla from Kay's Hidden Shelf, and I'd probably tag Andrew's Wizardly Reads and probably a couple other people, but these are all people that already do this and probably have already done the tag to some degree. I know Tori and Kayla both have already done this tag because Kayla tagged me and Tori has already done it, so yeah. That's the way it's going to be. I'm not tagging anybody in this video, but thank you guys for watching an Erudite adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and have our social medias linked in the description down below. We'll see you guys again soon. Stay well.